Thank you, Your Honor. What you have before you is an ordinance adjusting the mayor and council salaries. This is required by Moscow City Code Title I, Chapter 8. It indicates that every 2 years, mayor and city council salaries will be adjusted by the consumer price index in accord with the way that the city applies the CPI. And over the last 2 years, as you can see, the CPI in 2009 was 2.3%, and in 2010 was 2.7%. So, as I indicated, this is a mandatory ordinance that certainly the council could choose not to pass it. In past practices, the council has approved the ordinance, and then it is up to the city council members themselves if they choose to take the increased amount. So this is a cycle that is run at least 6 months before a pending city election. There is a city election this November to fill 3 council seats. So this is coming up as is regularly called for by the Idaho Code and Moscow City Code.
Thank you, Gary. Was this discussed at all at committee level, or is it coming to the council? No? Public Works Finance talked about it. Wayne, what do you have to say about that?
Well, we looked at this. It's kind of the same thing that some of us looked at 2 years ago. It feels a little strange for us to be voting on our own pay raises, you know. But this is a mandatory ordinance. Last time it was put forward, I don't think any of the council members or the mayor took the increase at that time. We do have an election coming up, and so you know we kind of owe it to any new people that may or may not get elected to be looking at that. So it'll be an individual choice once again as to whether the council members or mayor take the increase, if and when they want to do that. So other than that, we just wanted to send it on to council, and because it is an ordinance, it had to go to full council and not to consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that to be read by title and published by summary.
Second.
Okay, that was Tom's voice?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound like Tom's voice so much anymore. Okay. Wayne's motion and Tom's second. Is there
Intercontinental
discussion?
flight
I was trying
disease.
to throw it to somebody else.
Tim?
Thank you, Mayor Cheney. Although this ordinance is required by code, I do urge this council and mayor not to take these increased salaries.
And
Tom?
I was going to say that I think that choice will be probably made. We'll have an opportunity to say no to those raises for whoever's on council next January when those things come forward.
Okay. Is there other discussion, Sue?
What are the ramifications if we chose not to vote this ordinance down, this iteration of the ordinance down?
We would come back to you and seek further direction. And it does say in the action that you can give staff direction with whatever action you deem appropriate.
So I'm thinking in 2 years from now, how much trouble would it be to reinstate it?
It's going to come up in 2 years anyway.
Yes,
Right.
It'll come up every 2 years.
Right.
Unless you change the ordinance. What the state law requires is that you may not raise your salaries more or less than 6 months before a pending election. And the idea is, just as been stated tonight, that as people are filing, they need to know what the salary is going to be, and it does seem uncomfortable that you're voting on your own salary increases. If you chose not to pass this, it would be ineffective. I'd probably meet with the city attorney, and we would talk about the ramifications of that. It has been handled individually by individual council members in the past, and that seems to have worked fairly well.
Okay, that's fine. So in other words, it's more trouble than it's worth for the $30, which I can just choose not to take.
Wayne?
Good.
Well, and I would point out that it's a significant raise. It's like $30 a month, you know. So, but the point is, even though it's $30, and I will make light of $30, but you know, we're coming up with a new budget year. We're coming up with a budget workshop at the end of July, and I think it's important that we take a look at what the city salaries are going to be due before we even think about whether we individually are going to want to take it. And, that's why last time when we did this, none of us took the raise, and because we were, it's a matter of setting the example. And so.
And I might just interject, having sat through a number of these two-year cycles, I know that some of our conversations over the years have involved whether people make the decision to serve as to whether they can afford to do it. And so do we want to, set salaries that only people who are, semi-comfortable retirees can afford to do, or do we, say your time is worth something? And I don't know the answer
It's
to
worth
that
50
either.
cents an hour.
But you have to remember that those of us that are retirees are on a fixed income. We don't get any raises anymore.
Other
It's
discussion,
It's
Tom?
just a tough economic time right now, and people are struggling. I know how mad I get when Congress
Yeah.
raises their pay and
Yeah.
us taxpayers get blitzed. And so I'm just urging all of us to keep that in mind.
Okay, I pledge I'll vote for this, and I'll pledge I won't take the raise.
Tom, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that, for me, it's important to pass it so that the people that are considering running for election in November, know what they're getting into pay-wise, and then it's up to individual members to decide if they want to take it, and they can do that based on what the staff salaries are, or whatever other personal things are in their lives. So.
Okay. Any other discussion before voting? Okay, we'll start the roll call vote with Sue.
Aye.
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 I'm going to vote aye, but I'm not going to take the pay raise.
The motion carries. Thank you. So that's ordinance number 2011-07, an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Title I of the Moscow City Code, providing for increases in the salaries of city officers, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law.